I'm here with an amazing woman, beautiful one at that as well, and very accomplished. Her name is Somers Egelsee, and she's a TEDx speaker, publisher, intuitive coach, and a best-selling author. She has a book and journal coming up very soon, and it's called Choosing Positivity: 30 Ways to Spark Joy into Your Life, and it's coming with 30 contributing authors. So that I'm sure it will be well published and well exposed. So that's a great thing. And I know, Kim, you are very, very successful and you're everywhere on social media. And I call you a book lady, I guess, in my mind, a book lady, because it's always about the book and of course, publishing book and writing the books and just working around it. But I know you have a story. It's not just, we know how it's not always very, very easy and roses, they say, right? And just easy life for everybody. It's not. So how did you come to your success? What's your story? Let's talk about it.
Yeah. Thank you for having me and excited to be here. And it's interesting because I'm 51 now, and I started when I saw Jim Rohn at age 18. And Jim Rohn is the one that really like taught Tony Robbins and, worked with the big ones like Jack Canfield, Mark Victor Hansen, all those great guys in personal development. And a lot of people call Jim Rohn the father of personal development. And so I got to see him, and later on down the road got to meet him and ended up working with his 18-year partner. But seeing him at age 18 really shaped my goal setting and starting to believe in myself. Little did I know I would end up doing the same thing for a living. And so I actually went through, just to summarize it, I went through doing acting. I ended up actually teaching special education for quite a few years and working with adults with special needs and severe behavior issues. And I sang in a rock group. And then I started on the side doing intuitive readings. And after my degree and everything, doing life coaching. And I ended up going to a long, transformational, beautiful class and seminar taught by New Yorker. And I got certified in NLP there and life coaching. And I started to go, this is really what I'm meant to do. And so I ended up clearing out everything else and full force launching my business in 2010 after doing it on the side for 6 years. And right away ended up doing, events and speaking and coaching and things like that. And just really realizing that is my purpose. And I haven't stopped since then.
Right. And we met around 2012, right? Or 2013,
Yeah.
somewhere at that time. So you were already on your way to stardom.
Yeah. We got to do a book together.
That's right. That's right. Later on. That's great. So let's talk about the night dark of the soul that you went through, right? And how it relates, because this podcast is about how business is your spiritual journey, how we women can and want to have both. We want to have business success, money success, but we also need fulfillment, and we want fulfillment. And for a lot of women, it's actually fulfillment is the main thing other than money. Money is great,
Mhm.
but without fulfillment, what is money, right? So at least that's my opinion. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think a lot of times when you have a very deep spiritual calling and when your purpose aligned with divine energy is to serve people, help people, heal people, sometimes without really wanting to, you go through your own set of challenges because later you're meant to be able to help people in a deeper way in which you wouldn't be able to if you hadn't gone through those challenges. And
Because you do have to grow. You have to grow. Without growing, how can how can you
yeah.
help?
Yeah, exactly. And so, you sometimes you end up going through something that you never thought you would go through or doesn't match you. And so really for me what happened was around 2017 I started experiencing really crazy difficult symptoms. Like I had never been someone who had anxiety. I suddenly was having, I didn't even know what that was. I was having these bodily sensations right here that were like panic and heart fight or flight, like pounding and feeling dizzy and joint pain and nausea to where I felt like I was pregnant, but I wasn't pregnant. And it was really, really bad to the point that it was taking me out of work. It was making me cancel things, even trips. And it would last sometimes for 2 weeks straight. And then all of a sudden I would feel better for quite a while. And then it would come back again. And I went to, now I'm going to summarize because this has been something that has a little bit lasted up until now. But I went to over 30 doctors, healers, specialists, you name it, got diagnosed with all different things, realizing those were not the things wrong with me. It is partly hormones, but what I found out was that it was because of breast implants. And so before I realized that, I had began drinking to cover up the symptoms, and I would just have like a glass of wine and it would make the symptoms go away. Never been a big drinker in my life. Always didn't like feeling out of control. But what happened was the symptoms were getting so bad at the time, and this was back like 2020 when we were going through COVID and pandemic. It was getting so bad that I don't know what happened. I couldn't help myself. I started drinking like a bottle of wine and then I would feel better. And then it got so bad that the symptoms got worse. So I was drinking so much that I was just going to sleep for like 12 hours a day and not able to work and not able to do anything. And so fast forward, it wasn't getting better. And so I ended up going to get help and become sober because I realized that actually the drinking was making everything even worse. At first, it was making it better, and then it made everything times 10. It made it
Well,
bad.
well,
Oh,
it's a band-aid. It's a band-aid that
right,
you're covering up, but nothing is healing, nothing is changing because that's not the solution, of course.
exactly. And so during that time when I was getting the help and when I was at my bottom, it really felt like a dark night of the soul. Like it felt like I was falling into a dark hole. And some of the nights I even saw like visions of like Native Americans and like lights and, auras and different things like that. But it was like, it was scary. But at the same time, I had this knowing that this was for my highest good. So I just kept, that's like the secret, I think, is when you're going through something extremely dark and scary and you feel like you're almost going to die, which I did many, many times. You have at least this little nut belief, like the seed of a mustard seed belief that you're going to be able to use this as a gift eventually. Like, okay, this is for my highest good. This is for my highest good. It's part of my journey. I signed up for this before I came here to earth. This was part of my journey. And so eventually I got sober. I still get symptoms here and there, but it's way better. I ended up having the breast implants taken out. And that was a major surgery. And I feel more myself. I would have never gotten those now anyways. That was back when I was doing like modeling and, entertainment stuff. And
I actually got an insight when you started talking. I got the insight that I would like to share if you want to hear it.
sure.
And the insight I got, actually, it wasn't even breast implants, although they were as a just, I look at the world as a mirror, and the mirror, the matrix outside of us, and the mirror that reflects what's inside of us. And so the implants was the physical symptom that happened because of your transformation. So your dark night of the soul was not anything bad, actually. All the anxiety is because your energy started shifting up. Your vibrational frequency started going out. I got chills right now. I know I'm saying the right thing.
Right.
I
Right.
hope it resonates.
Yes. And it is. That's what I was
Yeah.
getting to, is that it was a
Yeah.
mixture, hormones, breast implants. But what it caused was, and it's ascension, still ascension.
It's
So
the ascension, right?
yes,
It's the ascension. Yeah. It's
I
the change in the vibrational frequency going up. And
and
that's why you said implants needed to go out because you didn't need them anymore. Because that's when vibration increases, the self-worth increases, self-value increases. So you don't need to have something that you had before to increase your womanhood, so to speak, right? To help yourself from the outside. Now you had it inside. So it's a great thing that they came out, but they came out because of your transformational change.
Right. All of it. Like I couldn't, the reason I had to stop drinking and the reason I had to take them out was because I couldn't have anything low vibration in my body.
Exactly.
Those are low vibration things. And so now I feel like I would never take back a single thing. And I mean, it was bad. I had to go to detox rehab type places like 5 times, all short ones, but because they kept telling me I didn't have a problem, so I didn't understand. And then finally they explained it like you could develop an allergy to alcohol no matter how in control you were before. And so I know all of it happened for my highest good. And it really has, now it's been 4 years ago that this happened. And I am like way more intuitive. I help people on a way deeper level. I am even more non judgmental. And I just feel much higher vibration. And so I'm grateful for all of it.
Well, I would say, and I don't know if you really even like it, but I will go ahead and say it, right? So, when your transformation started, because you went to normal physical doctors, and of course they couldn't say anything because they didn't know about vibrational change. They're not spiritually, I guess, not spiritually inclined, as we know. They're dealing with traditional physical body, with traditional ways to approach the physical body, but you were experiencing spiritual symptoms, not physical symptoms. So how could they say even anything to find with you, right? Find wrong. And so then, because you didn't know, you wanted to take care of the problem in your way, how you knew that at that moment. And that moment was, okay, what can I do? I don't know what's going on. So let me start drinking so I can cope. So you were just coping with your transformation because you didn't know. Imagine if you knew that it was transformation and you would approach it with spiritual way, in a spiritual way. And this is a story that we're talking right now. It's not even for you right now, but for listeners and those who will watch this podcast, because imagine how many people now, because light is coming on earth in such big ways, and a lot of people are waking up, a lot of women are waking up, and your story right now will help other women who may be going through the same physical symptoms and they have no idea what's happening. And so the answer is, it's your spiritual transformation, and you have to deal with it with your spiritual ways, with spiritual tools. So that could avoid, somebody could potentially could avoid going your way, how you did it, so they can change it much faster and not going through the suffering like you did. But so look how much good came out of it. You helping others to avoid this mistake, and from your path you've grown tremendously. I don't
Right.
know if it resonates or not. What do you think?
Right. I actually started only going to holistic and spiritual healers. And I didn't go to regular doctors for a long time. And the spiritual healers would say things like that and do healing work, but and herbs and all those things, but it really wasn't the time for me, I guess, because it wasn't working, it wasn't resonating. And so I think I had to go through that whole journey.
Right.
And and I really believe like I did have to go on some medication because I tried everything, like
Right. Right.
deepest, darkest inner child work and healing work. And I do that on myself and other people, but I actually saw so many people who specialize in that. And so I feel like sometimes as you go through it, you need a little bit of help to balance yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But yeah, I think that if you know that it's part of your journey, like if I had known in the beginning, like, oh, I signed up for this is part of Ascension, no one told me that specifically until so I had
Exactly.
to figure that out myself.
Right. Right. And that's my point here, that we can help others to see that, yes, it's it's hard, it's crazy, it's scary, but it is a part of spiritual transformation. The earth right now is ascending. People are ascending. They're just humans. They don't even know that, but everybody is now being uplifted. And those who don't want to go through the process, they actually leave the earth in mass. So all the catastrophes and all kinds of cataclysms and tragedies, who knows, maybe they are not real tragedies, but actually mass exodus from the earth, because we're changing, we're going through tremendous transformation on the global level. And you're part of it, of course.
Right. Right. And a lot of people are waking up because of it. So it's giving them gifts that eventually they will see. Oh,
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly. All this shaking. I usually give a metaphor of a house. When the house is dirty, we start cleaning it. But when we start cleaning it, every woman knows it perfectly well, right? If we clean our house ourselves, you know that at the beginning it's all very messy. It becomes even worse than it was before because you're getting stuff out, and it's the broom is there, and whatever mop is there, and everything is just messy. And if somebody would see it at that moment, they would say, what kind of house is it? It's all messy. But you're doing the cleaning, you're cleaning gradually, and at the end you know that the house will be sparkly clean. And when somebody looks at it from that perspective, oh, the house is clean, but you had to do the work. You had to clean the house, right?
I see that. Yeah, I like that analogy.
Yeah, it's like Bruce Almighty actually comes to my mind. Bruce Almighty, the movie.
Yeah.
Remember how Bruce Almighty had to mop the floors? God told him mop the floors first, and at first he disagreed, he ran away, but then he did it, and things changed. So
Right.
it seems like that's what you were going through: cleaning the house, transforming, changing, and coping with it as you knew how. But the hope is you went on the other side. And what happened after you went on the other side?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it made me extremely resilient. And so I became much stronger. Like sometimes you don't know how strong you are until you're faced with being strong and you're like, "Oh my God, my only choice is crumble or pick myself up and, be a warrior and move forward." And so
Exactly.
I do find now that, symptoms come up, not like that, thank God, but they come up, or, challenges come up, and I'm able to really face it calmly and peacefully and with a knowing that it's part of the journey. So a lot of times I even say, okay, this is part of my journey. This is for my highest good. That helps a lot because, and I tell clients that as well, like something, horrific or crazy happens. I'm like, still, it's part of your journey. It's for your
Right.
highest, even when it's something that's hard to comprehend. If you at least trust that, then it's going to help you move forward. So I think that that's where I've been, is like I've been much deeper, stronger, better. So I don't regret. It's not that I want more challenges, but I don't regret what I went through.
Exactly, exactly. And let's make it a teaching point, because I like teaching points to make sure that people remember. So say again, what do you say to your clients, and what people could say to themselves, even maybe looking in the mirror during the very challenging situation. So what do they say exactly?
So when you're going through something challenging or very difficult, you can say, this is part of my journey and it's for my highest good. And the key is, even if you don't understand yet why it's part of your journey or why it's for your highest good, as long as you trust even 1%, then you're going to receive gifts eventually from it and you're going to grow from it.
Right. And I would add, and then ask, what exactly is it teaching me? What exactly is the situation showing to me? And then ask for divine help, right? By
Right.
the way, did you while your difficult journey, did you ask the help from divine in some way, form or shape? And also,
Yes.
what
Yeah.
is the divine for you? What do you call it?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I believe in God, also I'll say divine energy, God guides, spirit team, soul team. But I do feel that's how I was able to carry on, and I kept my business going somehow. I'm like, and no one knew. I mean, I told a select few, but I don't like to, here and there I would ask for prayers like publicly, but I don't like to go into too much detail during, because then you get judgment and you get.
Doesn't it feel sacred? I found it sacred. I never ask for public praise at all, because my beliefs are very sacred to me. And when I'm in the spiritual state, and I've been in that spiritual cave for a long time, for many years, I don't want to go out there and share it. It's sacred. That's the word I found for me. So it works for me. It's a sacred space. I don't want to share. Did you find it this way?
Yeah, I think I just didn't want too many other energies or opinions involved when I was on my path. And so I did ask for help, and I did see a lot of evidence of divine. I would see, I see angel lights, I see, angel forms. So I would see that often. So that helped me know that I'm going to be okay. It's just moving forward. But I kept my business going during. And of course, I did have to cancel and reschedule things more than usual, which I don't usually ever. And so that was challenging, but I have a lot now. It's like I have some of the same clients, many of the same clients I've had all the way back since 2010. And so it didn't make anything in my business fall apart. So that was because of God. That was because of divine support.
I totally agree, and I experienced exactly the same thing. So I am saying I attest to that for sure, 100%. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And so, what is your main way? Do you believe that you need to ask divine guidance first, or it comes at important times? How do you live your life now in
Yeah,
relation to the divine?
I definitely say prayers and mantras through the day, but I also talk to God through the day, and just continuously, I just connect to, like, make sure I'm connected to my higher self. Like, I remind myself all the time. Like, it just starts to come naturally now, like where I probably make sure I'm tuned in like 50 times a day. Like, it's just part of it. So I do feel like I do always feel very guided and protected. And like, my last business project was channeled in, and everything just came together like so magically and beautifully. And I do know that is because I'm always connected to divine energy.
That's perfect. So you actually answered my next question, and maybe you can elaborate even more if you want to. But the name of the podcast is "Business is Your Spiritual Journey," right? So I wanted to ask, do you? And of course, I know the answer, but I'll ask it just to say it. So, do you have it separately, spiritual journey and business separate, or you look at them together as one?
I definitely look at it together as one. And I encourage people and clients to do that, because I've found that people who are like, oh, this is my home life, this is my work life, this is my spiritual life, they feel very fragmented, and they feel like something is missing. And so I feel like all in one breath is my purpose, my life purpose, my family, what's important to me, and my business, and it's all spiritual. So I know this sounds cliche, but I never feel like I'm working. Like, it doesn't feel like work. I feel like it's always fun and happy and play. I mean, of course, sometimes doing taxes or something is not fun, but in general,
I agree.
in does I feel like divinely guided, and I really encourage other people to do that, because it can make miracles happen.
Mhm, mhm. Yes, I totally agree, because business is, I mean, spirituality is the part, actually. It's the main thing for us. We're here in the physical world, but we're spiritual being, but we're having human experiences, as many people said already before me. And to me, actually, business is our growth. This is how we grow spiritually, because we're doing things in the physical world, but we're creating through the spirit. Like you said, your next project was completely channeled. So the idea, the divinely inspired idea, came from the divine, right? For everything. And once it came, you were able to transmute it through your body and birth it into the physical.
Absolutely, yes.
And I look at it as, even now we're doing this, the idea was from the divine, this podcast, and then I have to do it through me, through the body, and invite you through your body to channel and to make it in the physical, to make something in the physical to help others.
Right. And it's fun.
Right. So what are your teaching point from, let's look at your whole journey, right? Your whole journey of dark night of the soul. You had business success, you started easily, right? It was easy for you. So business was not a problem, because for some people it's a problem. So for you, you didn't have those spiritual issues, that business is a problem. It's all great. But then your time came when you needed to transform, and your apparently everything you do is with the bang, right? Big,
Mm,
everything big. So your transformation was big with anxiety and all the symptoms, right?
yeah,
Yes. And and then later on, now you back in a not back, you're in a new way now, the new you.
right.
And before I ask for the teaching points, that's another question. Do you feel different? You mentioned it already, but let's specify. Do you feel different?
You know, I doing my own podcast for 5 years really helped me get the rest of, like, maybe there was this little percent I was holding back still of who I truly am. It like just got it all out. So I feel completely free, and I am an open book, and I don't like, even though during that dark night of the soul I wasn't sharing too much because I knew that it was like what I was going through. Now I'm just an open book. Like I don't hide anything. I'm just me. And so I feel like what it did is it gave me an extra level of confidence that I didn't have before, and an extra um power to totally be my authentic true self and feel free.
This is so amazing because my upcoming event is, I was just discussing it with my business colleague yesterday. I mean, it just happening. I'm listening to you and I'm saying, wow. So I was pondering the name because I was finalizing the name of my upcoming event. And the name is Radiant. Your business is your spiritual journey home to freedom and power.
Uh
And you just said exactly two words. You said, I feel free, and then I found my power.
yep.
This
Yep.
is this is so amazing right now. I'm feeling so expanded because
Serendipity, yes.
it's serendipity, because just yesterday we were talking about it and today you are saying it.
Yeah, I mean, because that is true. It's true. And I have actually a lot of friends that are healers and have gone through many. It's interesting because even my podcast co-host and I went through dark nights of the soul at the same time, but with different things going on in our lives. And now we both feel like that, like different ways because we're different people, but we both feel more free and confident, which is and powerful in a good way, you know?
And I actually want to specify here, I used to do a lot of interviews on the topic of I'm a woman of power. That's what they were called. And I would ask, do you have power? And I would invite very high powered women who maybe, let's say, they were former executives or they had former title, but they didn't have it anymore. So they would come to me for an interview and I would say, do you want that power or do you have the power? And I would see how they would visibly shrug and just contract themselves. And they would say, I don't want that power. And because they were thinking it was the worldly power, like they were highly powered executive with that worldly power, that outside power,
Yes, like
but
ego.
the ego power. And I would have to explain. So I've learned to start explaining it first. Like I ask you, what's your definition of divine? So I've learned that if I don't specify semantically what power means, because to me, power is spiritual power. I'm
Right.
not talking about the ego power. Let it be male domain ego power, right? With all due respect to men. But in a women's sense, we want that power that is inside, the spiritual power, the power it's the power of the divine.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting because the more you learn about ego, like I realize now, like when I began in 2010, the first few years, I was more ego without even realizing it, and caring what people think, and over explaining myself and trying to be a certain way. Like, oh, I must dress this way and I must speak this way, instead of just letting go and being my authentic self, you know? And so the ego layers were shed, and when you do that and you learn how to do that, you're just feeling, like you said, so much more powerful and free.
And I totally agree with layers, because people in metaphysical books, people explain that ego needs to die for us to go to the next level. But I've experienced on my journey, yes, ego died, but it had to die in layers. It cannot die just overnight, because
Right.
we would spontaneously combust if that happened. because we wouldn't be able to tolerate such a jump in frequency. And layers of the ego dying, that's the exact answer to that, to the journey, that we're on a journey to finally to for our ego to die, but through layers and layers, through
Right. Right.
stages.
Yeah,
Right.
it takes, I mean, it's worth it. Like, I think that's the thing is people get scared. They're like, oh my gosh, it's too much work. And if you just put, one day, the next day, the next day, and just keep doing the work, it is so worth it. And I started my first spiritual book, I was only 22, and I read To Think on These Things by Krishnamurti. And I remember at 22, the book was very overwhelming to me. Like, I could only read half of it, and I had to wait a while and process. And I realize now, like, wow, I've been able to apply so much of back then what was in that book, but it took quite a long time.
Exactly. And actually, 22 is a very early age. What I found in my work with clients, people come to me for spirit, and I am a spiritual mentor. So people come to me to do this work. Usually 33 is the earliest. I had one client at 26. That was remarkable. And she had tremendous change. But usually it's later, because apparently people still need to live in the physical world and wait for them to wake up for some reason. And I'm not talking about waking up per se when you become interested in metaphysics. You can be a child and be interested in metaphysics. That's one thing. But when you really want to do the work,
Right.
that's the difference. Not just reading about it, not just reading about, as I always say, reading about playing piano. You play piano. And yes, it's a lot of work, but I'm totally agree with you that I would never exchange it to anything else, because it's a lot of work to live in the physical world as a muggle.
Right.
And the muggle is, I call non-magical folks. Thank you, Harry Potter's author, right? J.K. Rowling's muggles. So yeah, you can be a muggle and not believe in all of this and say, oh, this is woo-woo stuff. But guess what? It's very hard to live this way. People don't have any vacation 100% all the time. Drama happens. And when on you're on the spiritual path, you know how to deal with this drama. You
Hmm.
know that you are, like you said, you're part of the journey. With this is happening to me because I'm on the journey. So it's a
Right.
very different approach to life. And to me, it's easier. Work is work. Everybody does the work. But
Hmm.
whatever work they choose, it's on them, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. But I think, something encouraging is, I'll give an example, like without naming names. But I have a client that she came to me really desiring the spiritual growth, and she had only done a little bit, and she wanted it so much that she just took everything in and did so much work and meditation and books and everything. And then suddenly, so it only had been like a year and a half, but she was really moving forward very rapidly. And she got diagnosed with leukemia. And she had so many tools already to bring her through that journey. And she is thriving now, and she's okay. And she credits it with, being absorbed in wanting to grow spiritually. And of course, she has much more growth to do. But I think if you have the desire and you really want to full force embrace it and study it and take it all in and apply it to whatever you're doing, it is really, you never know how quickly you can see some of the results, at least.
Exactly. I totally agree. And it's been my experience or experience of my clients. What you're saying is true. I remember teaching, and I know we're a long time already, we're finishing, but it's such a lovely conversation. I just can't help myself. We continue here, right? So I remember teaching at the college, and we started talking about spiritual stuff because, well, it wasn't a part of the class, but I did talk about it. And later on, one person out of all, and they were young adults. It was a community. It wasn't community, but it's young adults, let's say. So this person comes to me and he says, what do you need to do to start? I was so happy that at least one person, it was a long time ago, it was many years ago when people were not waking up in masses yet. And I was so happy. And I said to him, I remember, and I still believe it's true. You have to have a burning desire to start on the path or to start healing. You have to have that desire that will propel you through difficult times and through difficult experiences. Would you agree?
Yes, absolutely. It makes me think of Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Oh, yes, my
Yeah.
favorite.
Yeah, and what I love is he was such it was so conscious and different back then for him to dare to go into that. Like
Oh
he
my goodness, absolutely. Imagine how many years ago,
Yeah,
the century, it's not even, yes.
yeah, so that was very bold of him, and I think that that helped a lot of people step into being more spiritual and feeling, people want to feel like they have permission. So they feel like, "Oh, it's okay then because I could say that I got it from him."
Right. When I woke up at first, it was 95. When I officially woke up, I've read books before, but that was the start of my spiritual journey per se, the healing and all of that. I thought for the first year, I thought I was the only one crazy believing in all this stuff. I had no idea, nobody around me talked about it. But
Mhm.
then I started noticing the more I progressed, the more people around me are the same, or at least they know something about spirituality. And it's been bigger and bigger way of more and more people like this. But when I started, I thought that I was the only one. That's it.
Yeah, I
It
get it.
was quite strange experience. So the final question, and then we will talk about where we can find you and what you can offer to our listeners. But what are the teaching points you can say to summarize? You already said all of that. So how can we summarize at least maybe 3 teaching points from your journey? What would you say?
Right, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, one of the ones that I will borrow from Jim Rohn that I could kind of shift it a little bit, but his famous quote is work harder on yourself than you do on your job. And I think the way that I would rephrase it is the work is worth it. And your job, so-called job, becomes your divine purpose. The more you work on yourself, your job becomes your divine purpose. So
I
that's
totally agree.
Yeah, that's one of them. And then I'll say a cute one that I made up a long time ago, but it really works. Is you can imagine like you're a turtle, a clam, or a snail, and you take off your shell and you have the bravery or the nerve to be yourself. And so really that means like taking the time to just be a little braver today. Say something you wouldn't normally say. Take action on something that scares you and let out who you really are, even if you have to start by journaling. So that would be another one. And then I'll remind them of the one that we said earlier is when you're going through something challenging or difficult, you say, "This is part of my journey and it is for my highest good. This is part of my journey. It is for my highest good."
Beautifully said and very well true. Very well said and true. Absolutely. And okay, of course, we would like to know where people can find you. So, what would be your, well, website, right? You want to share your
Sure.
link to your website and what
Yeah.
exactly are you offering?
Yes, yeah, I'm offering, if you go to my website, kimlifecoach.com, my contact is on there, or you can contact me at kimlifecoach or facebook.com/kimlifecoach to find me on social media. And I'm offering a free 30-minute intuitive session with me for business, life, or just intuitive guidance. And I also have an upcoming book that we talk about on there.
That's right. That's right. We have a book lady here. Thank you so much, Kim. It's been an enlightening conversation. I totally agree with everything you said. It's been amazing, and I definitely know what this journey feels like, looks like, because I've been there, done that, and I am sure it's helpful to. It will be helpful to people, to women, especially women. Spiritual. We're here to help women not only be good in life, but also in business, to have business success, money success, and spiritual fulfillment.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you. This has been a joy.
Join me in my conversations by subscribing to this podcast. And remember, everything is possible with the divine.